everyone, this is Yohan, and today I would love to share yet another fun patchwork tote bag project. The measurement of this bag, it's about 11 inches by 12 inches. This bag has that pleated look at the side seams. Obviously, you can expand the pleat in case you are taking much more stuffs with you. So now you have like the classic tote bag look. So this bag is really deep. So the base at the bottom is about 8 inches. So it's perfect, especially during colder months like now. You can bring extra sweater or extra scarf, something that is fluffy and needs a lot of room. Of course, there are some pockets inside. So you've got one zipper pocket and two slip pockets, plus a bonus little pouch, just perfect to put your cell phone in, or cash or credit card. And I also added a little swivel hook, so I can actually hook this with my keys in case I need to run somewhere real quick without taking the whole purse with me. You will need 4 jelly roll strips for the patchwork. I used the French General from the Mode Fabrics. Obviously, you can use any fabric, any color of your choice. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comment section down below. And without further ado, let's get started. Prepare your jelly roll strips, and then you're going to lay them out the way you want them to be. I like to alternate the darker color from the lighter color, just like so. Once you're happy with the layout, go ahead and sew them together with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. So here I've got my strips already sewn together, and I also already pressed the seams. I pressed the seams towards the darker color. Trim off the selvage ends of your fabric and then straighten up the edges just like that. Now take your ruler and then measure 4.5 inch and cut. So you will need to cut 6 of these, and you should end up with 6 rectangles measuring 8.5 inch by 4.5 inch. Now prepare your accent fabric. You will need approximately 3/4 yard of this. From your accent fabric, you will need to cut some strips and rectangle panels. You will see the measurements on the screen right now, so just follow accordingly. Now we're going to lay out the patchwork for the front exterior shell, so go ahead and do just like shown here. Now I'm gonna piece the patchwork starting from these jelly roll strip panels, and of course I'm going to use 1/4 inch of seam allowance, and I like to press the seams as I go. Now when sewing these two together, try to match the position of the jelly roll strips. I use some pins to secure everything so my fabric won't shift around. Alright, here I've got my front exterior shell already pieced together. Now we're gonna work on the back exterior shell. So go ahead and lay out your fabric just like so. Now I'm gonna start sewing from the jelly roll panels. Alright, so here I've got both of my front and back exterior shell ready to go. Prepare the interfacing. For this project, I use my favorite combo, which is the fusible woven interfacing with the fusible fleece. I cut the fusible fleece 1/2 inch shorter to reduce the bulk at the top, so it's easier to do the final top stitching later. Obviously, you can use any kind of interfacing that you like, although you may want to shy away from something that is too heavyweight. This way you still can get that nice naturally pleated look from the side seams. I'm gonna start by fusing the fusible woven interfacing first. So here I've got my exterior piece wrong side up, and then I'm gonna lay my fusible woven interfacing wrong side down, and then go ahead and fuse this according to the manufacturer's instruction. Here I've got my woven interfacing already fused in place. Now I'm gonna take my fusible fleece and lay that wrong side down on the wrong side of my fabric. See the gap at the upper top there, since I cut the fusible fleece 1/2 inch shorter. Here I've got both of my exterior shells already fused with interfacings. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and do the quilting. So I'm gonna do the diamond shape design with my walking foot. So you can do any design that you like. You may also skip the quilting. It shouldn't be a problem unless you are using quilt batting or some sort. Here I've already quilted both of my front and back exterior shells. Now we're gonna work on the straps. So I cut my straps 27 inches long by 4 inches wide. Obviously the length of the straps can be modified according to your preference. And then you wanna interface this with a fusible woven interfacing. The width of the woven interfacing should be 2 inches wide and the length should be an inch shorter than the length of the strap. So in this case it's 26 inches for me. And of course you want to position your interfacing right on the center. And then you're going to go to your ironing board and press the straps. Fold the end of the strap about 1/2 inch, just like so, and then press. Simply use the edges of the interfacing as the guide. And you want to do the same for the other end of the strap. And then go ahead and fold your strap in half and press. Then open the fold and then fold the edges towards the center fold, just like so, and then press. And then you want to fold everything in half and then press again. This way you're going to end up with 1 inch long strip. Once you've done that, go ahead and sew all around with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Here I've got both of my straps ready to go. Now we're going to attach the straps to the back. So here I've got my front exterior shell with me. Position the end of your straps right on the seams between the second and the third jelly roll strips. Count 2 strips and then place the edges of your strap right on the seams, just like so. Now I'm going to use my sewing gauge and measure 1 inch down from the seams between the first row and the jelly roll panel, just right there. And then that's where I'm gonna put the end of my strap, just like so. Now I'm gonna place a couple of sewing clips to secure this in place. Then go ahead and do the same with the other end of the strap. Now draw the stitch line for your strap, just like so. So I'll simply draw a rectangle following the stitch line from the strap itself. It's about 1 inch long, so I don't recommend you go beyond that. It's going to be a little difficult for you to do the top stitching later. And then I also draw a diagonal angle from both sides so it looks like an X. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch the strap in place. And you may also run the stitches a couple of times to make sure that your strap is really secure. Alright, so here I've got my straps already sewn, so you will do the exact same way for the back exterior shell as well. Now draw 4-inch square from each bottom corner of your front and back exterior shell. So I'm using my square ruler here and find that 4-inch point and then draw the mark. Now go ahead and cut the square corners. And you want to do the same with the back exterior and your lining pieces as well. Now we're gonna move on and work on the lining. So go ahead and cut your lining exactly the same size as your exterior pieces. So this fabric that I'm using is a flannel. It's double-sided. I happen to have it on hand. And of course you can use cotton quilt weight fabric for your lining. So whatever your preference is. Alright, now we're gonna work on the slip pockets. Lay your pocket pieces right side together and then pin them in place. And once you've done that, go ahead and sew all around with 1/4 inch of seam allowance, leaving about 3 to 4 inches of opening at the upper part of your pocket. Once you've done sewing, go ahead and trim off all the corners. Be careful not to cut through the stitches though. Now go ahead and turn this piece inside out. Use some kind of blunt end object to poke the corners, like knitting needle, skewer, chopstick, or the tip of your pen. Fold the raw edges of the opening hole towards the inside about 1/4 inch, and then go ahead and press this with an iron. Once you've done that, where the opening hole is, go ahead and top stitch this, and again this is going to be the upper top of your pocket. Now position your pocket on the right side of your lining piece, right on the center, about 4 inches away from the top, just like shown here. Secure this in place with some pins. Anyway, to easily find the center of your fabric, simply fold your fabric in half and then you can use that center fold crease as the guide. Once everything is set, go ahead and sew right on the side, the bottom, and the center as well. I like to sew from the center first. Next, you're gonna work on the zipper pocket, followed by attaching the magnetic snaps. Now, I'm not gonna show you the entire process in this video since I've already done this so many times in different videos. However, if you're new and you need the tutorial for zipper pocket and a magnetic snap, I will have the links to the particular parts of the video from the maker's tote. So you can simply follow that video, the exact same measurements and the exact same steps applied. Now we're gonna start assembling the bag. So lay your front and back exterior pieces right side together and then secure them in place with fabric clips or pins. So you want to match the seams of the first two rows where the first strips and the first jelly roll panels are. Once everything is secure, go ahead and sew along the sides and the bottom as well. And you want to sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Now we're going to box the corners of this bag. So go ahead and open up the square corners here, match the seams, and then I'm going to secure this with a fabric clip. Then go ahead and sew with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. So you're gonna end up with something like this. Now you can turn this inside out to see how it looks so far. Alright, it's looking great. Assemble your lining pieces exactly the same way you did with the exterior shell. However, you want to leave about 5 to 6 inches opening at the bottom to turn this back inside out later. Now it's time to do the final assembling. So have your exterior shell wrong side out and the lining right side out. Insert your lining into the exterior shell just like so. So at this point, the right sides of the fabric should be touching each other. And then I like to match the side seams first. And I place a fabric clip to secure this. And then I do the same with the other side and then make my way around it. Once you've secured everything, go ahead and sew all around with 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Now, if you use a walking foot like I do, since walking foot is a bit chunkier than normal presser foot, when you get to the strap, the edges of your walking foot may get in the way with the straps. To prevent this, simply move your needle all the way to the left and of course adjust the seam allowance accordingly. This will make it easier to sew when passing the straps. Once you've done sewing, go ahead and turn your bag inside out through the opening hole. Poke the corners with your fingers. Then you want to neaten up the edges. I'm using my hero marker here, but you can also use iron. Then go ahead and do the final top stitching. Again, I move my needle all the way to the left and then use the 1/4 inch of seam allowance gauge instead. This will give me 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. This way, my chunky walking foot will not get in the way with the strap. Alright, once you've done top stitching, go ahead and pull your lining out and find that opening hole. And then you want to fold the raw edges towards the inside about 1/2 inch and then go ahead and stitch this close with about 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Once you've done that, go ahead and tuck your lining back inside and you're pretty much done for your bag at this point. You may want to train the side pleats a little bit and that's it. Now we're going to work on the bonus little pouch. So from the leftover jelly roll fabric that you got, measure 5 inches and cut, and you will need 2 of those. And you will also need to cut 2 accent strips. Lay the jelly roll panel and the accent strip just like so, and then you're going to sew them together with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. I also used the fusible woven interfacing with the fusible fleece for this pouch. Again, I cut the fusible fleece 1/2 inch shorter to give room to sew the zipper so it will not be too bulky. And I'm going to fuse them exactly the same way as the back, so starting from the fusible woven interfacing and followed by the fusible fleece. And here I've got both of my pouch pieces already fused with interfacings. If you obtain to attach the swivel hook, go ahead and prepare the strap anchor. So cut a rectangle measuring 4 by 3 inches. Fold the fabric in half widthwise and then press. And then open the fold, and then you want to fold the edges towards the center fold, just like so, and then press. And then fold everything in half again and press. Then you want to go ahead and sew along the edges with 1/8 of an inch of seam allowance. So you will need a swivel hook measuring 1 inch wide. Now insert your strap through the hole and then place this right here where the seams of the accent strip with the jelly roll panel is. Now I'm going to secure this with a fabric clip and then stitch this in place with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Now prepare your lining pieces. Obviously they should be the same size as the exterior pieces. Prepare the zipper. You will need at least 9-inch long zipper. My zipper here is a little too long, but that's okay, I will trim that off later. Lay your front exterior piece right side up and then lay your zipper right side down. And then take your lining piece and lay that right side down, and you want to make sure that the edges are aligned. My fabric has no right side and wrong side here, but if yours do, you should be looking at the wrong side right now, so make sure that the right sides are touching each other. And here I've got mine already secured with some fabric clips. Now go ahead and sew along the edges about 1/4 inch of seam allowance. I'm gonna unzip my zipper first. Once you've done sewing, go ahead and open the sandwich and find the zipper. Then I'm going to use my hair marker here to neaten up the edges. You can also simply finger press or use iron at the very low setting, although you want to make sure that your iron wouldn't touch the zipper coil because it may cause it to melt. Now go ahead and top stitch along the edges. Now lay your back exterior right side up and then place your zipper right side down, just like so, and then take your other lining piece and then lay that right side down. And then go ahead and secure the sandwich with some fabric clips and then sew with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Again, you want to neaten up the edges and then go ahead and give this a top stitch. Now it's time to assemble the pouch. First, you want to make sure that you unzip your zipper. Now I'm going to trim off my excess zipper. Separate the exterior from the lining, just like so. So you will have the right side of the exterior shell touching each other and then the right side of the lining touching each other. Then you want to secure everything with fabric clips or pins. Match the seams of the zipper. Now go ahead and sew all around, leaving about 3 to 4 inches of opening at the bottom of the lining to turn this piece inside out later. Once you've done sewing, go ahead and cut all the 4 corners. Be careful not to cut through the stitches. Now turn your pouch inside out through the opening hole. Again, you want to use some kind of blunt end object to poke the corners. Alright, now you want to pull your lining out and then fold the raw edges of the opening hole towards the inside about 1/2 inch and then go ahead and stitch this close. Once you've done that, put your lining back inside and voila, your zipper pouch is done. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time with another fun sewing project. Goodbye!